Today we're gonna make a ribeye steak, but not on the barbecue. We're gonna use our normal kitchen oven, and we're gonna use the reverse sear technique to come out with this amazing little plate. And look at this, look how fantastic it's looking. Come on, let's get cooking. Let me ask you a question. If you want to eat a big fat steak, but it's raining outside, what do? You give up on it? Or you come into the kitchen and you smoke up your whole house? Well, what if there was a third option? Today we're going to be doing a reverse sear of this big ribeye, and we're going to make pretty much small to no mess at all, so that the wife is happy and we get our steak. So with our gorgeous dry aged ribeye, we're going to start off by adding some salt to it. But before doing that, I like to put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil so it helps it stick. Both sides and on the top. And then I'm going to use my herbal salt to rub it on the meat. I'll put a link on the recipe of this salt, but it's amazing for steaks, for lamb, but even for fish, for sauté mushrooms. It's basically a mixture of rosemary, thyme, garlic, mustard seeds, and flaky salt. In the salting of the meat, you should do it a good 30 minutes, 1 hour before you actually need to cook it. And that's going to allow enough time for it to go inside the meat and just give it that flavor. And also the meat, of course, before we cook it, needs to be at room temperature. So I've actually taken this out of the fridge about 3 hours ago. And the concept of the reverse sear is to be able to cook it slowly at 65 degrees temperature in the oven. And we're going to bring it up to 45 internal temperature. And at that time, the meat is going to be beautifully pink inside, but outside is going to be looking pretty crappy. And at that point is when we take it out and we make the magic happen. So when you do a reverse sear, you need to have a meat thermometer, because the cooking is going to happen slowly, and it's important you know exactly when you need to take the meat out. And the great thing about this technique is that 95% of the cook is going to happen in the oven. So we're not going to smoke up the kitchen, we're not going to make a mess, we're not going to splatter, and it's a fantastic way of allowing us to have nice, gorgeous, juicy steaks, even if it's rainy outside, like today. Our ribeye goes in, and we're going to add a little bit of water at the bottom. And we do that so that when the fat melts down and hits the hot tray, it doesn't start smoking up. It gets absorbed by the water, and again, we're not making a mess, which is the whole point of why we're doing a reverse sear today. So the meat is going to be ready in about 15 minutes, so we need to start thinking about how we're going to serve the meat. And I like to serve it in a bed of rockets. So I've washed some rocket over here. And by the way, if you don't have one of the centrifugal things, get it, they're a lifesaver. So it uses centrifugal force to dry up the vegetables, because even though you buy vegetable that says it's already washed, so sometimes salad it says already washed, just go ahead and eat it. It's always good to wash it again, because they're washed in these industrial pools full of chemicals, and honestly, it's a bit disgusting, so just always wash your vegetables. Once the rocket is dry, just put it in a nice serving tray, just create a little bed, and rocket and steak, it's perfect. Some little cherry tomatoes. And we use a peeler for the Parmesan. Drizzle of extra virgin olive oil. And we finish off with some balsamic. And here you're gonna have the bitterness coming from the rucola, the sweetness from the balsamic, the cherry tomatoes, and you're gonna have the saltiness from the Parmesan. This is amazing for the steak. And the reverse sears works because of this, cast iron. So once we take the meat out, it's gonna be cooked, but it's not gonna be beautiful. And we're using the cast iron to create the crust. But the cast iron takes quite a long time to warm up. So put it on the fire, put the heating on, and let it warm up. You're gonna know that it's ready when it's gonna start smoking up. After 1 hour, we reach the internal temperature about 45 degrees Celsius, and we take this guy out. And at this stage, you can see that this looks pretty ugly, but not to fear. So we're just gonna pat it dry on both sides, and it's super tender actually. Dry it over here as well. This is just gonna help us make a much better sear. Our skillet at this point is as hot as the gates of hell, and that's exactly the heat we want to finish off for the sear. Now, I'm not gonna add any fats here, no oils, because what we're gonna do, and prepare for a lot of smoke, is put fat side down. And by doing that, look how crunchy the fat is, and we released all this fat in the pan. And that's perfect, because now we're gonna do this. Gentle press. 2 minutes, the sear is fantastic. Now, another 2 minutes on either side. And when it looks absolutely stupendous on both sides, we let it rest. 10 minutes in its beauty sleep. So we gave it 10 minutes, a little bit more would have been good too. And look how beautiful it is. Look how juicy. We start off just by cutting the bone off. And this is my favorite bit. Just next to the bone. Look at all these little fats. Oh, delicious. Can't stop licking my fingers. So we start slicing it up at an angle. Look how gorgeous it is. And this is the great thing with the reverse sear, is that we managed to make such an amazing steak and we made relatively little mess. Look how pink and juicy. Delicious. It's fantastic. You can taste all the aromatics from the rosemary, from the thyme, a little bit of garlic, the saltiness. It's absolutely fantastic. Now we're going to plate it over here and add all the freshness that we talked about before. And this is our final product. Look how amazing it looks, and it tastes fantastic. So I hope you liked the video. If you do, put a thumbs up and write a quick comment just to say hello. And buon appetito!